food is my entire life, right? It's everything I live and breathe. The obsession amongst other obsessed people, altogether physically exhausting, high temperatures, alcohol. There needs to be like something wrong with you to want to endure those kinds of hours. It's basically like a playground for issues.
All right, Jeremy Fall, thank you for joining us. Jeremy is a restaurateur, a chef, a person that brings a lot of different kind of skills together to create what? To tell us about what you're up to and what you do.
Well, those very kind words. Yeah, no, chef and restaurateur is a good way of putting it. Yeah, I've been in hospitality my whole life. Busboy when I was 11, server, nightlife. Not anymore. Nightlife is way, way, way behind me. I'm sober, and I also go to bed at 8:30. So, yeah, those days are behind me. But yes, I am still very much a restaurateur and a chef. Yeah.
And what are you up to? Like, tell us about your restaurants.
Yeah. So my most recent concept is called Drugstore, which essentially is a scratch kitchen, but using clean ingredients. I actually hate using the word organic now because, well, first of all, everyone says that everything's organic, like their content's organic. So I do actually hate using that word, but I do actually use organic ingredients, clean ingredients, seed oil free. And not because it's a trend, but because age caught up with me. And then I started being affected by the shit that I put in my body. And I was like, I need to be able to eat something that tastes good. And I hate this whole idea of like you're either eating healthy or eating something that tastes good. So I decided to blend those together into a fast casual concept. So, and just really building these essential items like burritos, smoothies, overnight oats, these essentials piece by piece, because I'm trying to make everything from scratch completely and eventually at scale. So it's an ever evolving journey.
And how can people like enjoy your food or learn about it?
Yeah. So actually Drugstore is opening a location in the West Village, one in Montauk, and then slated for Los Angeles later in the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. What is the spirit of LA? Tell me more about like the spirit of LA, like how you see it.
LA is going through a very hard time between COVID, the fires, ICE, Trump, and we can go, well, yeah. There's a lot of shit that has really affected LA. I think ICE and Trump destroyed LA as much as the fires did. I think that, the coolest part about growing up in LA is that it is multicultural, right? I grew up here. It's multicultural. I'm multicultural. I come from a mixed background. My mom's Black and French. My dad's North African. I'm a son of immigrants, born and raised here, and it's like what makes it so special is this immigration, and now it's turning into some like bullshit, like Aryan and race wannabe agenda, and it's like, that's what the government is trying to turn it into. LA itself, I will never get to that.
You're talking about the federal government.
The federal government, yeah.
Okay. And they're trying to, by sending in ICE, they're kind of forcing this agenda of like deporting immigrants and like doing what they prescribe versus which is antithetical to what Los Angeles is.
Yeah, they're giving people who have no education $50,000 signing bonus and a carte blanche to get rid of anyone that they deem doesn't belong here. And in those people's eyes, that means brown. That means not white. First of all, LA used to be Mexico. We are talking about a city that is built on its immigrants, and now you are trying to remove that. And it's not just an LA thing, it's a nationwide thing. But obviously we're talking about the subject of LA, and it's like once you start wiping that away, or trying to anyway, it's like, what is left? There's no identity left in this city.
If you deport immigrants from LA, there is no LA.
There's no LA. I mean, and my food is actually completely inspired by my upbringing, right? Like, yes, it's inspired by my roots. I've always mixed and then obviously like there's this fusion term that like became sort of cool, but there's this really interesting thought with like what cultural appropriation looks like in food, right? And I I have always been interested in mixing different cuisines, right? I'm interested in highlighting cuisines. I would never in my life attempt to represent a cuisine that I am not, you know, fluent in, right? That I am not, that's not a part of me. But I've borrowed from different cuisines to mix them together, right? And I think that that's what I love about food, and that is literally the representation of the Los Angeles melting pot, is being able to mix all these things together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like tacos árabes in Boyle Heights that were Middle Eastern tacos or sandwiches, depending on how we want to, if a taco's a sandwich. Um, but you have all these different, really, really interesting ecosystems that mix different cuisines. That's what I've always done, right? Like I never look at something being like, I'm going to open this kind of restaurant. I'm going to open, American. Like what the fuck is American? What's American? You know what I mean? People are like, oh, it's American food. I'm like, it's crazy to me. You know what I mean? What the fuck is American food?
That's really funny because we had Ben Hundreds
Yeah, yeah.
and he was like the Benjamin is American food. But what we
I
figured
know
out
Ben. I know Ben.
Yeah, I know, of course.
And I will ask him what the fuck it means.
No, but I think that what he means is that American food is that where it is just whatever you want to cook kind of coming together. I think that when it becomes kind of multicultural, then that's what kind of makes it American in terms of food.
Yeah.
Tell me about like downtown LA. What's it like to try to open in downtown? What's the vibe in downtown?
I mean, downtown is very, again, I saw downtown. I was raised in downtown, right? So when one of the rare people in LA, they'll tell you that they were raised in downtown. It's changed a lot. It went up. It's gone a little bit back down. I think what's weird about downtown is that it's not a proper downtown compared to other cities, because actually, if you think about it, it's like it's in an outskirt basically of Los Angeles. Like depending on how you look at LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like downtown. It's like side town, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it hasn't gotten, it's pockets of it have gotten the love of attention over the years that it deserved. But I think because it's so big and LA is so wide, it is very hard to focus on rehabilitating all of downtown, and different pockets like the arts district, right, get focused on, and then other parts get neglected. And then it's like a Tetris game of trying to bigger things out. Also, the fact that LA as a whole has gone through hardship, like we talked about.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, LA as a whole is going through a hard time. And I think, downtown is probably one of the most historical parts of the city. I mean, if you look at like older architecture and everything, most of it from LA is actually in downtown, right? Like you don't have as many, I mean, you do, but you don't have as many like mixed use buildings and all these new developments or condos. Like you don't have that as many of those as you would in like Santa Monica, for example.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I think that even the problem for me is that even on a weekend, it takes a long time to drive there.
Depends where you live.
Right.
You live in Highland Park, you live in Silver Lake. It's not that far.
Right. That's true.
Silver Lake, it's like a 12-minute freeway.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
What I want to do is kind of get into your story about how you found yourself doing like one of the hardest jobs, one of the most interesting jobs. That's something that I'm fascinated in.
Yeah.
But what did you think you were going to be doing when you were growing up?
So one of the things I actually have I have a gripe about. Actually, we should talk about it.
Let's do it.
I do not think that being a chef or restaurateur is one of the hardest jobs. Everyone says that. Every fucking person is like, what do you do? I'm in the restaurant business. I'm a restaurateur. Oh my God. It's the hardest business in the world. I'm like, no, it's fucking not. Like, we're not on operating tables. I'm not working in like a coal mine. You have in an industry where your title can be celebrity something, probably not the hardest job in the world. Like the concept of celebrity chef, and being a chef or restaurateur in 2026 is very different than it was in 2016, in 2006, in 1996. Like it's evolved, right? We're in an industry where Tech companies are throwing money at restaurants left and right. Private equity is throwing money left and right. VCs. Everyone wants to own a restaurant. You can have TV shows, as we can thank you for a lot of that. You can have documentaries about you on Netflix. We're on a fucking podcast, right? How many people that work in coal mines get to be on podcasts and get to like have brand deals? Like, I think the worship around chefs needs to fucking chill. And I'm saying that as I'm guilty of it, because when I first started in the industry and I started getting all this praise, I got so high off of it and I got all these, and it's like all of a sudden, like, I came into this industry not because it wasn't a fame thing. It wasn't anything like that. It was because like I love food, but like growing up, working in restaurants, like, yes, it was hard. And I did it because I dropped out of school. And then all of a sudden I had publicists, I had agents, I had all these things. And then things really changed, right? But this idea that it is one of the hardest jobs in the world is fucking bullshit. It is such bullshit. Like, and when I hear some of my chef peers being like, oh yeah, I'm like, you have a face full of makeup, you're on camera, you're getting a fucking brand deal. Like we got to stop with this bullshit. I really do think the worship around it is not actually healthy, right? And like a lot of bad behavior gets excused because of that. It's like, oh, it's this very hard, very strange, very physical. Okay, cool. So are a lot of other industries. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't think that's actually fair to say anymore.
Mm-hmm. I always do go assume, and I think that we're actually the hardness of it that I'm perceiving is just that so many restaurants fail, like so much work goes into a thing that then can just disappear.
Yeah.
And like lose. So I think that I look at it in terms of risk being part of the hard part. But yes, not coal mining, not in the army, like.
Yeah. And I will speak on that, right? A lot of times you see restaurants go out of business all the time. It is a very tough financial industry, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of restaurants that you see close, a lot of times are restaurants that have poured millions of dollars into them, that are backed by wealthy people that can write it off as a tax loss. And it's usually a chef trying to flex what they do. And, it's a hype cycle and then it dies. Like a lot of them are like that, right? The ones that I feel like are the hardest actual ones are the mom and pop shops that are trying to make ends meet. I agree in that scenario, but that's not limited to just restaurants. That's limited to shoe repair. That's limited to
right. It's any business that is not like super capitalized.
Exactly. So it's not a restaurant thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Chef's Table came out, my dream was to have a Chef's Table episode. Everyone's fucking dream was to have a Chef's Table episode because it still is like the epitome of like this beautiful representation of like the craft. And I think that is very necessary because I've been fighting for years, my whole career, to like do collaborations in fashion with food, music and food. I was very early on. I was treating food as like sneaker drops on Fairfax, and like people weren't doing that back then. And I had such a hard time. People were like, well, what does fashion have to do with food? And now like every fucking fashion brand has a cafe, right? Everyone's like everyone's got like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all of them, right? So, times have evolved, but like, I think that we went from being into a hard industry to like, hey, you're going to get this like beautiful documentary episode about you, or you're going to get this show, right? And it's like, of course we're all going to want that. I made so many moves in my career that were just PR focused because I wanted to get the PR and the attention, because it's like my earlier projects were always more authentic, and then they got less and less authentic because I was like chasing headlines and stuff, right? And then I like chilled, and now I'm back to I feel like I'm opening like my early restaurants again, right? And I also pushed that narrative forward so hard as much as I could.
Yeah. What kind of effect do you think that has on cooking, like in general?
If you look at the most iconic songs in the world, right?
Yeah.
Seven Nation Army or Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, White Stripes, whatever the genre is. I'm not saying those are the only two, right? The sequence of notes is very simple. I think there is a huge amount of creativity within the simple, right? And I think the problem with food is it's gone way too fucking complicated. Like, you go to a restaurant and they make this like amazing dish, dollop of caviar. Why is there a dollop of caviar there? You're taking away from everything else. I love caviar, don't get me wrong. But if I'm eating leeks or whatever it is, and you've prepared them beautifully, and then you just threw a dollop of caviar on there, unless the caviar is part of the DNA of the dish, don't fucking put it there.
Right.
You're doing it because you want to make it elevated, and it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out, right? So if you make a very simple vegetable dish, that deserves to be $50 more than the vegetables with a dollop of caviar in it, even though I get it from a food cost perspective. And you're trying to add value, and it's kind of this easy way to tell people like, oh yeah, well, it's because there's caviar. Oh, okay, cool. But I think there's like something so special about simplicity. You know what I mean? If you can go to a Michelin star restaurant one day, the same way you go to any restaurant, and it's like a rotisserie chicken, like a sandwich, like simple things made perfectly, that is a lot harder. How are you going to blow my mind with a ham and cheese sandwich or a rotisserie chicken the way you would when you do like 17 ingredients, My cooking got progressively more complicated. I did a lot of that. I was like adding a bunch of shit and trying to make it sound cool and using hyphens and all these ingredients, making up ingredients out of 2 ingredients. And I was like, well, why don't I just try to simplify, bring it down to the essentials, And it's like, and that's actually a lot harder. I'm over there. I'm like, how do you make this burrito different than the thousands of burritos out there, or a sandwich, and I think that to me is the most interesting thing. Now, that's where I want that's where I want to innovate for myself personally, right? And by the way, I enjoy fancy meals. Like, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I go to Michelin star restaurants. Like, I'm not, and I am a hypocrite in general, but like I do go to those. But sometimes I'm like, most of the time, I love to see innovation within simplicity, and that's something I love about sushi. Sushi is my favorite food, right? Of course, Angela knows, like, I feel like that's like our thing. But sushi is like, people don't realize like how much the rice has to do with the rice is everything more than the fish, right?
Yep.
Everyone can buy expensive fish, slice it. Like sushi plays within this box. They think outside the box within a box, right? So it's like you've got like knife work, you've got ratios for like there's so much science in sushi. And like that to me that's more innovative than like some crazy fucking, nitrogen, like chill with the nitrogen. I mean, thank God people have, but chill with the fucking nitrogen.
Man, some of the things, I don't know if you've seen some of the Dubai restaurants where the guys come out and the Salt Bay kind of started this like performative, what have you, because the nitrogen was like, that was kind of an Alinea, El Bulli, the thing. But then I've been seeing smoke, and then they're literally shooting flamethrowers at steak, and that theatricality is kind of feeling like we're compensating for, the thing. I think now the kind of pendulum swings. It's actually interesting. We just did the Alice Waters episode last season. And it kind of goes, she and Wolfgang Puck are kind of contemporaries in different parts of California, but it's like, get the best ingredients and present them elegantly, but like, don't fuck them up. And is that kind of where you're finding yourself now?
Yeah, I think too much intervention isn't good. Like, trying to manipulate an ingredient, I don't think makes sense most of the time. But if we don't, we feel like we didn't, like, anyone can make this, right? And it's like there's this, the line between cook and chef now is pretty much inexistent. It's really just like what you call yourself or what people call you,
right?
And it's like some people are like, oh, I can make that at home. It's like, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something that you had to go to school for to make. You know what I mean? And I do like the idea of democratizing it, right? Obviously, there is another aspect of making one item versus 300 during a service. So there's obviously skill, right? And and experience. But yeah, ultimately, like I'm with you. Like the amount of the lesser the lesser the intervention, the better a lot of times. And I think we fuck it up a lot.
Yeah.
And then we try to twist things too much.
It's not that we're just going to a restaurant because they're going to cook something that we could never do ourselves. We're going there because of what? Like, what are you putting into your restaurants that makes it, this is a reason that we're going to go here?
People forget that the restaurant experience goes from food to parking, to the valet, to what, like the experience starts the second you get into your car to go. Like I will pick good service over good food 9 out of 10 times.
And why are we going to, so give me in your mind, why does a person go to a restaurant? And then take me through what you want their experience to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, I think, to be honest, it's changed a lot, right? I think there are different types of people. There are people that go to restaurants to be seen and for content. That's like probably a high.
Going to restaurants for content is newer, I would say.
100%.
Yeah.
That is. I don't know the percentages. I'm not qualified to know, but it's a high percentage. I'll tell you that. Because everyone lives on social media, right? There are people who want to just check a box during the day, like, hey, I'm hungry, I'm going to go eat. And there are people that, there's like the self-proclaimed foodies, whatever. Those usually go in the content section to me, but let's just give them their own section. And then I think there are just, really just people that just want to have a good time, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's called hospitality, and it needs to be hospitable, right? I think that if you look at the most popular restaurants in the world right now, right? You look at Corner Store, you look at Carbone, you look at Mastro's. I mean, they're still popular. Like, 90% of popular restaurants are different variations of steakhouses. If you have multiple steaks on your menu, you're serving a pasta, a chicken, you're a steakhouse. You're a fucking steakhouse. Nothing wrong with a steakhouse. I love steakhouses. I love steakhouses. But that, to me, signifies our culture as a meat and potatoes culture, right?
American food.
American food. When I say our, yes, exactly. American food. That's what American food is. Finally, we answered.
It's a steakhouse.
We solved it.
It's a martini.
We fucking solved it. That's what it is.
Potatoes and whatnot.
That's what it is. I mean, and I love steakhouses. Steakhouses are actually one of my favorite things. One of the main reasons why. Most of them, I love going to Taylor's in Cape Town, for example. I love going to Taylor's. They don't try to fuck shit up. They don't try to, like, what kind of steak do you want? They get a good steak. They know how to cook it well, which, by the way, so many restaurants don't know how to cook a steak properly. Trying to master that, you're already like 70% there. Mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, vegetables, whatever it is. Like, those restaurants are really focused on atmosphere. They're focused on vibe, right? They're focused on service. When you go and I don't drink anymore, but I used to love a martini with steak, right? When you go to a steakhouse and you get that really good hospitality, that's why those places are packed, and that's why most of the restaurants do well, is because people want that good feeling. They want to go to a place where they're going to feel the comfort, right? Comfort food works. People don't want to eat like fermented grasshoppers. They fucking don't. They'll say they want to. They'll go try it. Oh, this is cool. Like an art exhibit where it's like really weird. Like you go to like some art exhibit that's like really fucking avant-garde. Oh yeah, I went there. Cool. Oh, it was an amazing meal. It was 45 courses. Half of them were bugs. Yeah. Okay. You're fucking saying you like it because everyone else did. Don't fucking bullshit me.
Is that some Emperor Clothes thing where it's like, here's a plate of grubs?
100%. Like, I'm going back to the worship. It's like if because you're foraging shit in the forest. What's what you forage? Because you're foraging shit, you're putting it on a plate, and you've got all these like people. It's emperors. It is exactly what that is. It's like, oh my god, that meal was amazing. You are not going to walk away and say it's not, because you don't think that you're qualified to deem if something is good or bad at that level, right? People will go to, again, a restaurant, even if it's like this, and I hate the word foodie, but like I hate a lot of things apparently. I'm glad you let me on the show because I'm like laying it rip.
It's okay. It's good.
Foodies. Okay. You let them into a restaurant that's like the hot new restaurant, right? They're like, oh my, I'm going to this place. That's crazy. This dish, this dish. Most of the time, they end up getting the rigatoni vodka. And by the way, I love rigatoni vodka. They end up getting the chicken. They end up getting the steak. Of course, because that's what we want that's what we want. We want comfort food. Now, I'm not saying that those are the definition of comfort food. Comfort food for me, right, is a lot of those things, but comfort food for me is Thai food. I grew up in LA. There's a lot of Thai food, Japanese food, Chinese food. For me, comfort food is not American food, right? It's like it's a mix of things, right? But when I'm summarizing it because if you look at the most popular restaurants in the US, that's what those are. That's what comfort food is, right? And that's what people are getting when they go out. Like I guarantee if you take a product mix, right, a list of in a restaurant what sells the most, I will bet if there is a burger on the menu, it is top 3 without exception at every single place. And I'm being generous. In the top 3.
So that's what people actually want are these simple things. Well, I guess it's sort of like going on a trip to go to a restaurant where they're serving, bugs and kind of weird stuff like that. And then there's a feeling like you don't want to be like, oh, I'm not sophisticated enough to enjoy this. As people are saying that they love it. Is that kind of a thing?
I think so, yeah. I really do think so. And I do think that there's also like the high of being there, being blinded by the experience, blinded by the price tag, being blinded by the anticipation that like the food is so like as much as it feels like it's the center, I don't even think you realize what you're doing. Nothing wrong with eating bugs, by the way.
Well, I've been to I mean, it's just not my taste because I didn't grow up eating bugs and to me, it's just not what I'm looking for. And if you're going to give me a bug, make it small and make it very crispy, I think.
I mean, in Mexican culture, they make the grasshopper omelet, cricket omelet.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Is there any news in LA about any restaurants that serve bugs?
Other than Noma?
Oh, what? Noma's coming to LA?
You haven't seen the whole thing?
What's happening with Noma?
With Noma?
What's this? I don't know. No, I'm kidding. What's
You're very convincing, by the way.
What's the story?
I was like, because I do that shit. I'm like,
so what's up with that? What is the phenomenon? And I guess it's like obviously, that's not the only restaurant that could have a story like that written about it.
About abuse?
Yeah, about abuse or about, about having, like tons of stages working or whatever the whole thing is. What is the symptom of that phenomenon? And then why is what's happening now happening, do you think?
It goes back to our conversation about worship, right? And like this abundance of worship for chefs, right? I don't think that worship equates to abuse at all. There's no excuse for it, right? There's no excuse for it at all. I think that the problem with worship in this case is that it's blinding to a lot of issues, right? People that worked at Noma felt that they needed to stay quiet because the world was worshiping this chef, one of the most famous chefs in the world. Everyone was worshiping that they didn't feel safe to be honest about being physically, emotionally, and mentally abused. That's fucking crazy. We're talking about a chef. It is not in any way ever justifiable, ever. The amount of worship that a chef is getting in these scenarios, and I mean, like, if you look at the way people are responding to what's happening right now, so many, like, one apology gets posted. Oh man. So like people are like people are supporting people in the industry are like, oh man, yeah, he apologized. It's okay. It's not. It's really not, and it's like
but he's not doing it anymore? Or they pay the interns now? Like how much accountability like does there need to be if he has acknowledged it and changed or not?
I do know that when they started paying their interns, the restaurant closed not long after. I don't have access to their books. I can tell you as an operator that I know what shit costs, and I cannot imagine how you would be able to keep that running
with that
without.
kind of manpower that kind of cooking
Yes.
requires.
Yes.
What was when you worked in kitchens, what was your experience? Like, what you read in the article, was that like normal or abnormal?
I've been, well, look, I've been fortunate to be a 6'7" man. I'm not a, I am not a woman that works in kitchens. I'm not a smaller man. I am a straight man. Like
Yeah,
there's
you're not an easy target to bully.
I have privilege in that sense. I'm a straight man that, so it's just that makes a big difference for starters. I think that I have my restaurants, I thought this was normal. My restaurants have actually never had issues like that. And I'm not saying that as like a pat on the back. I'm saying that as like, I think I've been very fortunate. I would never let issues happen like that, but it is easier said than done in this case, right? Because so none of my places have ever had that. We've had issues before, but I've been very lucky to surround myself with partners and people that have been on the same sort of wavelength, and we wouldn't have tolerated that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm also 35, right? I haven't been working in restaurants. I wasn't working in restaurants in the 80s, times where it was a lot worse back then. So, there's that as well. I have I mean, you hear you're in an environment that's high pressure, alcohol, usually people that, again, kind of found their way there. I don't think a lot of us like grew up and were like, I'm going to be a restaurant owner or a chef. Kind of went from, nothing to something. It attracts certain people that don't necessarily have the healthiest mental balance that they possibly could. So, it is definitely prevalent in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fortunate that in my restaurants that we haven't had issues like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is like, where does the myth of like, and I think it's a little bit like Kitchen Confidential,
Mm-hmm.
like Bourdain describing chefs as kind of pirates who have kind of failed at everything else and
Mm-hmm.
fallen into this, and they've lived mysterious, like even in Ratatouille there's like the guy who is like,
Yeah,
he's from the Resistance.
yes,
like
100%.
um what's up with that?
I mean, I think it's a stereotype, and I think it's an excuse.
But why is the restaurant where these types of people, these pirates, come together?
Because, um, I think there are a few, there are very few industries where you can essentially just learn the craft and work your way up and have a sense of community. Let's say you learn to be a plumber, right? You don't have that camaraderie, right? Especially for addicts, I mean, I'm an addict, right? So like, especially for people like me, like if you're an addict, if you, have mental illness, which I also have, I feel like you want to be like you want a family, right? A lot of people that don't have traditional families or families at all, like you want this family, right? You want this sense of belonging. I also think passion here is a very like passion that borders obsession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I'm guilty of that. Like, food is my entire life, right? It's everything I live and breathe. It's just, I think that also the obsession amongst other obsessed people all together in these late hours, long hours, physically exhausting, high temperatures, alcohol, these like highs, like I was talking about. Like, I think it's like it's basically like a playground for issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're getting these, again, these highs and these like all these different things in one place that, like, I think it's just the type of person that it also attracts. There needs to be like something somewhat wrong with you to want to endure those kinds of hours over that amount of time and
Mm-hmm.
make that your career.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, again, back in the, like I was saying, now chefs have it a lot easier now. But there was a time where you were working 90 hours a week for minimum wage and no recognition. It takes a certain type of person,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
like myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So the job is hard.
The job was hard.
It was hard.
Okay, I will. The job, the physical job, the physical part, sure. My point is, it is not the hardest job in the world, and it is a hard job like a lot of other jobs from a physical aspect.
Right.
If you're on a hospital floor, you're also walking.
Yeah. I think that where you're going is like, it's not so hard that we need to be like worshiping and crying for the chefs and
Changed,
stuff.
man.
Yeah.
It's also changed, you know? It's also changed. A lot of chefs don't cook, man. A lot of chefs don't cook anymore.
You know, there's an interesting correlation also between I think passion in general and addiction, people with addictive personalities.
100%.
What do you think that's about, where chefs, addiction, or passionate people in addiction, like where does that, what is connected there?
Well, I think, an addict is attracted to escaping life, real life, right? Escaping real life, getting high off of ideas, aspirations, getting high off of things, right? Things that can essentially take you out of your body, right? It's like so personal, but we're in a bubble that we've created, right? And it's very addictive the second you have stress or something happening in the real world where problems exist, where things are real, is very, very attractive to want to just, at a blink of an eye, escape, right? And I think when you're so hyper focused on that, or manic or obsessed, whatever you want to call it, with that kind of thing, food comes into play because it's a canvas for that. Restaurants are a canvas for that. It's a place of creation, it's a place of intensity, and it's another world. Like when you're working like a shift and you're on the floor or in the kitchen, whatever it is, like you are not in you are in this other mode. Like you are just fucking in this other mode because it's like so intense. And after when you're done, you're just like, holy shit, it's an escape from reality, right?
Can you tell us about your mental illness?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like an anxiety disorder, depression, and I'm an addict.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And how has that been? Like, you're saying this is like it was more, it could even be a special power.
Yeah, like, and I think I used to think it was a special power, in the sense that like that was also me pumping myself up as special, right? Because that's what addicts do, and and people like be like, oh wow, this is my suit.
Yeah, you're reframing
Thank
it.
you. I'm reframing it to myself because it makes me feel more special.
Yeah.
And that's also part of the high, right? Is just like this idea. I think where that has helped my success is really obsession, and just like the ability to just sort of leave real life in an unhealthy way to go do something I'm hyper obsessed about. I think it's also like, it's also an hours game, right? I have probably spent more hours focusing on what I do than maybe an average person would have. Someone who's healthier would have probably spent more time with family or friends, or not isolate. You know what I mean? Which is what you should do.
Right.
I think that I probably squeezed in more hours that way because of how my brain works.
Yeah, yeah. And also the belief, like the pursuit of a belief that may not have been considered rational
100%.
by other people,
100%.
And then pursuing that thing.
Yeah.
Even if people say that it's not doable or possible.
Yeah.
What was like the first like breakthrough where you had a vision of doing something that somebody told you was impossible, and how'd you do it?
Well, it's funny because I grew up being told that I was not creative. And I think the reason being was like, well, one, my mother managed a cafe growing up. So she's been exposed, she was in hospitality, right? And still is. She works corporate jobs now. But I think in my family, it was also like, I was going to be the one that was going to be like a doctor or a lawyer. Very like, you're going to go to school, or you're going to get an MBA and, that sort of traditional thing, which was not me. I hated school. I dropped out of college very quickly. And I think like, because, I had like friends growing up when I was a kid that would be like the kids that draw, and I was
Right.
never that.
Right.
I was never the kid that drew, the kid that, and those were like the art kids, the creative kids. And I was never that. I was like sort of told that I was going to be like more of an academic, which is not at all how I
Did you
am.
have good grades?
No.
So that must have been that must have been scary to you to be like,
they were fine. I cheated my way through fucking school. Like everything. I was like, I would spend more time figuring out ways to cheat on the test than actually studying.
Right.
That was more interesting to me.
And that's how you got away with it.
That's how I got away with it. And so, when I was like in my early,
that's a way to apply your creativity.
I was very creative without knowing. And when I was like getting older, I was just like, you know what? I think like I started thinking about stuff, and I was like, I have like these like cool ideas, and I want to make ideas happen. I was always about like turning ideas into reality. I'm like, just like ideas. I have this like really, and it's not the same thing. I have this like ability to just convince myself that I can do something and then just go for it. And I think it's like a naivete mixed with like some arrogance and like some insanity. But like, I'm like, I can design a bar, and then I just do it. And then I was like, I can design another one. And then I was like, I can open a restaurant. My first restaurant was a breakfast for dinner concept called Nighthawk. That's actually what put me on the map. It was a really big and got a ton of accolades and international attention. That's what put me on the map, right? As I opened it when I was 25. And I was just like, I'm going to open a restaurant, and everyone's eating kale salads and no dairy in LA. And I'm going to do like fucking foie gras and eggs and cereal French toast and spiked cereal milk with booze. And, and I was like, it's going to be like a fuck you, because I'm going to show them that I can just fucking be different. And, again, it's like the arrogance and like this young arrogance where I was just like, I'm going to fucking prove. And like, it's like those memes where it's like, it would be like Jeremy Fall, like just screaming, and then no one. And then there would be like nothing. Like, I'm just like having this fucking conversations with myself. And it's like, I'd be like, I'm a fucking, no, I'm like, just this like crazy things. And it worked. And that's what launched my career in restaurants. But, I was just like, and that's what I was saying earlier, is like the original, like ideas were the best. Like, just no fear, no like, okay, how does this look like from a PR standpoint? Is this a career? Is this career adjacent? Is this career growth? Is this stale? Is like all of these things that the restaurants that came after became more diluted versions of my creativity, because I just was fucking scared to not be successful, that I started people pleasing like crazy. Also an addict quality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just, I was really, that started to be important for me. And then, I basically took like 6 years off of restaurants until I opened Drugstore. Right. So like I had to like reset. And I don't know if you have this, but like, do you ever look at like your older films or documentaries, and there was like such a raw element before having all these like resources and shit?
Yeah, I'm literally in the process of trying to chase that right now, and just trying to like find that feeling again.
That's that simple play
where you're not, because the people pleasing is so real, and like, and also the need to follow up. You've set like, you've done something, you've made a hit, and then become afraid to take a risk because you don't want to fail. You don't want to have, it becomes it really does. It becomes more of a heady thing and less of like a pure creativity.
Dude, I've had meetings for shows and content where people are like, are we going like raw or chef's table? Like, are we going like chef's table fancy, or are we going like, that's like a fucking term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be doing the same thing. I would have, you basically, the way you and I probably, our careers blossomed was probably similar, where we started adding a bunch of ingredients to our shit, and now we're trying to simplify it back to the rotisserie chicken.
It would appear that way.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Also, just going back to Nighthawks, like I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and like there's something so pure about just the idea of breakfast for dinner
Yeah.
is like just so fun, and it's something you can always throw to your kids just to like get them excited about dinner. And it's like, what? Like it's a little wrong, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's good. Like this is what we want is like just
Yeah.
some cereal or like, you know, a French toast, and then of course you're putting some cool spin on that. But that is like such a pure concept that is just like so cool.
Yeah, and what was cool too is like, you know, I feel like this didn't get as much credit as it should, but like a lot of the breakfast dishes weren't just like American breakfast, you know, like we used like pork belly and stuff like that, where I was doing it very naturally back then. It like wasn't a political thing, or I was doing it just very naturally. And now I look back, I'm like, oh shit, like it wasn't this like Wall Street fucking breakfast like stereotype epitome: orange juice, glass of milk, eggs, bacon, you know,
American.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was mixed.
Like for you, like what is your earliest memory of tasting something that mattered?
Like that tasted good? It's
Yeah,
probably
or
the
like your
Happy
first
Meal.
memory of being like, oh, like this is good.
Happy Meal, probably.
McDonald's Happy Meal.
Fuck yeah.
And is
I
it just
still
the
love
is
that.
it just the food, or is it the whole experience?
I will say something about the McDonald's Happy Meal. We're talking about simplicity here. There's you see all these like smash burgers and all this shit, right? All these burgers. I have never liked the fancy burgers with I'm not a thick patty guy. No problem with that, but you see all these fancy with everyone is adding like brie and balsamic and fucking arugula and truffle. It's like it's just awful. Um But you look at like the simplicity of the McDonald's cheeseburger, the Happy Meal, it's a ratio. It's a ratio game. Like you even see the way their machines like square out the ketchup and the mustard at a specific ratio, and the way everything's diced. And I know the onions are like they're like freeze dried or whatever and hydrated. Anyway, it tastes good. The ratio is awesome, and they don't put lettuce and tomato in their burgers. Don't know where that came from.
Except for the Big Mac, you got a bunch of lettuce on there. But I
The
will
Big
say
Mac's different.
the Big Mac is different. Have you ever served a Happy Meal in any of your restaurants, or will you serve? Will it come with a toy?
I for years I wanted to do something like that, and I was gonna do like the unhappy meal, and I was gonna give back to like
The
mental
unhappy
health.
meal is
Yeah, like
very funny.
I wanted to do like a mental health awareness thing years ago, give back, and like do this. I never ended up doing it. I loved that idea because like that's like experiential dining if you think about it. Like this like people rave about like Sugarfish's delivery packaging and the experience of opening the box and shit. Like if you think about the Happy Meal, this constructed box with a toy, a burger, a drink, like that's fucking experiential. That's an experience. Like that.
It's like opening a present for a kid.
And they were doing exactly, and they were doing it for like I don't know what it was back then when we were growing up. It was like under $5 for sure for everything. Now it's probably like 40.
It's
Now-
16.90.
It's like a Bitcoin now.
You know, something really interesting about your the way all of your restaurants have some kind of cool thing about them.
Thank you.
know, there is always an idea, like, and you are an idea person, as we've been talking about. What are some of the ideas for things that you have not done?
Oh, that's a great question, man. No one's ever asked me that before. Oh, dude, that's a great question. Okay.
I'm here to please.
I'm gonna like the people pleasing is great. I'm gonna like whatever comes to mind. Like
Yeah,
I wanted to TV dinners need to be brought back in some capacity, right? And not in a gimmicky way. But I think that's something, dude. You are one of the accidental inventors of Netflix and chill. Fucking TV dinners, dude. What is going on? What have you been doing? What have you been doing? It would be a great career move for you. TV dinners. I actually really want to do a burger concept. So a lot of like my vision for like drugstore, right? My concept is like I've modeled drugstores, and everyone says this shit where they're like, do a fashion brand that's basically a restaurant where you do like merch, and then I've like positioned it where like even our smoothies and everything have actually people are using them as like fashion accessories. And I do think there's a status symbol that stems from the Starbucks cup back in the day that's now grown into like who, when you're walking the street. That's why ice drinks do better than hot drinks, because people want you to see what they're drinking. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. It's a whole show in itself.
I never even thought of that.
Oh, really?
That
Yeah.
it was that's why ice drinks are.
Yeah, because
people want you to see that it's the Hailey Bieber
or the
smoothie.
matcha or iced
or that
matcha.
It's a matcha. A matcha is a
Yeah.
status.
Yeah,
Wow.
people, and they, people with our smoothies, like people have like matched their outfits to drinks and stuff like that. And I've looked at a lot of what I do is like similar to the fashion world, where it's just like creating this really interesting world and like the sense of like tribalism or identity, whatever you want to call it, that you connect to your food or like accessories, right? And I think that's where a lot of fashion brands are going into food. I've always wanted to apply that to a burger concept where, again, it's like the burger is like how do you make the burger like the white t-shirt, right? Or like James Pearce has done that amazingly in like his lane. Like how do you create a concept where it's like there is like everyone's identity these days is like, what's your favorite burger? What kind of burger guy are you? Are you a thick patty guy? Are you a smash guy? Are you a fast food guy? Are you a $50? Are you a tower bar burger guy? Right? It's such a sense of identity now. Just like we were talking about, like people getting like their matcha. I get my matcha in the morning, whatever. So I'm thinking about like this like idea of like identity with like a burger, right? Like how do you create this brand where it's like part of your identity, the same way like status drinks are, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's another idea.
Status burger.
So, yeah. Like, let me come up with the names.
Okay. Okay, so there's a status burger. Okay, wait, how do we make something hot and desirable? Like, how do you make something trendy?
Well, okay, if I knew the answer to that, I'd be a trillionaire, because I would make everything trendy and then just capitalize off it. And I'm not a trillionaire, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I'm at 900.
Sure
I'm at 999.99999 billion right before. I'm a dollar short of a trillion.
Okay, so the billionaire burger.
Yeah, the billionaire burger. No, billionaires are not what I want to be. I think what I am hoping we've parted ways with completely is that whole we're gonna make food kind of disgusting to make it viral, like hot Cheetos covered everything, right? I feel like that's gone away. I'm seeing a little bit of it come back. People are doing like sushi, push pops, whatever. Like, okay, whatever. I think now what makes food trendy is, again, this like identity, the contribution it has to your identity, right? And I think that's why drinks are so big. That is what's doing a lot of the trend. I do think also media attention. People are like, they want to go to the place that everyone wants to go to and be seen and take pictures and post, right? But I think what's really funny to me is like when people say like Air One is exclusive, right? There's an exclusivity to Air One. Let's take price aside. Let's just assume for a second that a lot of people have $20 in their bank account. They might not have $20 to pay for a smoothie all the time, but they might for once in their life, right? For Air One to have become exclusive, it had to have a shitload of people go and post about it.
Mm-hmm.
The exclusivity has now become being able to attend somewhere that not everyone can attend. So if you have 1 million people post about Air One, it becomes exclusive because not everyone can go. But you still needed all those people to post it to put on the radar. So like, it's so funny how exclusivity has now become limited mass appeal. It's very strange.
Well, right. You want to create a feeling of exclusivity, but still sell it at scale.
Yeah, but it's not the place where only 10 people, because you wouldn't hear about it if only 10 people had gone.
It's sort of like, when Nintendo, I remember, if you remember, the Wii came out,
yeah,
and it was like you couldn't get a Wii. Like,
yeah.
But they made it ultimately,
mm-hmm.
Made a lot. But the feeling of exclusivity, the limited editionness,
yes, but
is a thing. So, but your restaurants also have had that kind of feeling a little bit, where it's like
they have.
Oh, I need to go. I need to try this thing before they change it or it goes away.
Yes, and I think that what's interesting there is like it's almost like a proof of attendance that I I actually really like that that's where things are going, because price exclusivity I don't love. My food and drinks are on the higher end. They're not cheap. They're lower than a lot of people, but they're not cheap. So I'm not claiming that at all. But um and a lot of it's used honestly based off the ingredients and labor costs. But what I like about this this idea of this proof of attendance exclusivity, whatever you want to call it, as a trend factor or hype factor, as you were calling it, or try to use trend, is that it is getting people off their asses to go somewhere and experience it, right? So that to me is a lot cooler than, and by the way, this is a place where anyone can walk in and buy something. It's not some like velvet rope nightclub bullshit, right? Like anyone can walk in to to a drugstore and then wait in line and get something. Anyone can. Anyone can. And so I do like that more because, the days of like, I got in this place, but you can't because I have connections to the bouncer or to the host. Like,
for you, it's like it's doing the work of waiting online.
yeah, or just being able, or like making the effort to go to, and we were talking about earlier about the experience starts on when you're on the way there. Like, I like that being part of the experience now, right? Like, I don't want, if there is this sense of trend or exclusivity or whatever you want to call it, where people are, are attracted to that, and people are attracted to that, right? And that's just the reality of the world. Like, and it applies to if it applies to my restaurants in the scenario, like, I like the idea that for people, it's them getting up, making a day out of coming and experiencing it in real time versus it's exclusive because I'm catering to people that can drop $10,000 a night. I don't want that at all. Or it's, you have to be famous to get in. I don't want that at all. That's not at all what I want.
Got it.
So but I like it because it's getting people off their ass and like doing things, and it's building memories. Like there are products like, we had a huge we were a huge hit in the Hamptons last year. I'd never gone to the Hamptons in my life before. I feel like you needed to know someone to get in the Hamptons. You're from New York, so it's a lot like coming from California, LA, like it seems so foreign to me, right?
Right.
But I was like, I wonder what made it feel so exclusive, right? It was because you had to be there in that moment, and we were selling things that we only sold there.
Right.
It wasn't a money thing. It wasn't anything. And yes, it's an fucking expensive place, sure. But like the same result anywhere, right? If I can do something and create something where people can experience it and like they build a memory because they attended that place during that specific period of time, and it's like a passport for their lives, right? That's cool to me. I do like that. And and to answer your question in a long-winded way, I think that's the trend right now.
I think that, you're selling, and I guess that's kind of what a restaurant does. And I think that when the restaurant is temporal, you're selling an experience and a memory.
Yeah.
If you're in a street fight, what non-knife kitchen item are you carrying into battle, and what are you going to do with it?
Do I have to be able to carry it, obviously, because it's a pot of boiling water.
Okay.
There you go. All right, that was good.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know what I was
effective,
like,
and then
I was like a salamander. I didn't know what the fuck.
You can still use the pot.
Yes, and you pour the water and
then you can use the pot. Okay, great. That's good.
It's rare that I'm in street fights. So,
what's the biggest fuck up you've ever done in a kitchen?
Accidentally burning someone. Yeah, turning around, that kind of thing.
Another chef.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's rough. All right.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like matching matchas to our outfits, and what is what is the meaning of like a life in cooking or restaurants or hospitality? Like, why do it?
I mean, I think like when you strip down, like you strip the world down to its core, a lot of shit doesn't matter, but it's also like the world, and we need shit that doesn't matter and shit that matters. It's a spectrum, right? I think food is important, and limiting the fuel aspect, the survival aspect. I think food is important to a lot of people, including you and me, right? So in that sense, it matters because it's important to us. I don't think it's necessarily like drawing a line in the sand about like it's why it matters on like a global scale. A lot of parts of the food industry, restaurant industry, are bullshit. That is for sure. It applies in a lot of different industries. I do think that food got put on a pedestal, like I've said, in a way that was a little bit extreme, or I should say chefs, not food. But ultimately, yeah, a lot of parts of it don't really matter, but part of life is consuming both things that matter and things that don't matter.